We have
This
to
meeting is
consent.
being recorded. What do you think about the new Zoom feature? It now tells you it's recording, and you got to allow it apparently as well. All right, so let's talk about calibration. You guys remember calibration, what it is? It's when you look at a person, so when they're down, what are the sensory cues, what are the finer distinctions they show when they're in a certain emotional state. So as you coach them, you can use those cues to tell you when there's a state change, when they're in a good state or a bad state. I trust you remember that. I really hope you do. I pray with every fiber of my being that you do. So, what is a representational system? Does anybody know? Go on. Some of you guys started your master's exam. No, yes, Charlie, what is it?
It's the system that, well, we've got the representational system of our five senses. But there's the visual, the auditory, and the kinesthetic, is in which people, we can pick up from the language which one they use predominantly.
Okay, cool. So we've got five senses of the VACOG: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory. Now, these are the senses we use externally in the gathering of raw data. Correct? Now, there's two concepts we need to understand here. Number one, every person has got a primary gathering mechanism. In other words, some people prefer gathering data through their eyes, through what they see. Some people prefer hearing. Some people prefer feeling, smelling, tasting, whatever the case may be. We also call it the learning systems. That's how we gather information. That's also how we learn. But there's a secondary level to representational systems. The second level, and this is where we go to the master's level now. Inside of our minds, the way we construct information, how we create our representation of the map, how we actually construct our reality. We've also got a primary representational system. So very often if you're in a conversation with someone, literally what would happen, some people will see an image, almost like they're running a movie through their head. That's how they grasp, that's how they understand, and that's how they store it in the memory. And that also is the same system usually utilized for strong emotions. Some people need to see it, some people need to hear it. So there are some people, when they listen to music, for example, certain songs, they'll get extremely emotional. But you'll also find that when they listen to a song inside of their heads, they can get just as emotional. So they might have a very strong auditory internal representational system. So they can play words, sentences, tones, pitch, volumes. They can replicate exact ways in which people say things to them. And they use that inside of their brains. Does it make sense? Third one, and there's only really three that's very strong. It's the visual, it's the auditory, and it is the kinesthetic. So some people have the feeling, the sense of feeling. How did that make me feel? And it's very much emotion-based most of the time. Yeah, Natasha, I know you've got some interruption, signal strength or something, whatever. It's load shedding all over Joburg, so a lot of towers are down. Does that make sense so far? So on the outside of us, we've got sensors, but these sensors play just as strong a role in our internal. And we've got primary preferences. Now, here's the key. There's a third concept I want you guys to do, and I'm going to bring them all together in a moment. The third concept is called eye assessing cues. Eye assessing cues. Now, I need to put this, listen to the whole training before you go, oh, this is so much fun, I'm going to love this, I'm going to use it. Listen to everything before you jump into it, all right? Is that okay? Guys, got me? Listen to everything before you jump into it, because there's a massive risk if you don't use this properly. So, inside of the brain uses certain areas predominantly for visual storage. It uses other areas for constructing images inside the brain. It uses different areas for sound storage. It uses different areas for constructing sounds inside of the brain. It uses different areas for remembering feelings. It uses a different area for constructing feelings. Does that make sense? Now,
yes.
I'm right-handed. Can you guys see my right hand? Can you see which side of the screen? Because we're on Zoom and these screens are, I don't know what side you guys are seeing. Does this look like it's my right hand or my left hand to you guys? I'm not sure. Tell me.
Right hand.
All right. Can you see this is my right hand? I didn't know
Yes.
it's my right hand because my thumb is pointing towards me. Oh, shit. My left hand does the same thing. So this is my right hand. Now, the moment you're in conversation with someone, the concept of eye assessing cues works on the following. If the eye goes to the left, so that's my left, this side is my left. Can you guys see that? If it goes to the left and it goes up, what the eye is actually doing, it's going into my storage cabinet, the place where I store visual images. So a simple way to test it with a client is you can ask a client, what color is your front door? Now just watch me quickly. This is my right-hand side. So I'm going to exaggerate this quite a bit. So if someone says, what color is your front door? And they go, green. What they've literally done is they've gone into the remembered side, they've seen an image of it, and they've fetched the data and brought it into the present. Does that make sense? If they go, just watch me again. If they go to the right-hand side top, blue, they've gone into the creative, constructive part of the brain. So there's a probability they're lying. Now, here's where the problem comes in. If the guy's left-handed, it's the other way around. Rule number one. Rule number two. Some people that are very strong on a visual representational system swap between remembered and construct very quickly. So some people will literally go and they will go fetch in the memory, they take it to the construct, they bring it back to the present, they'll even take it to the feeling, the kinesthetic side, and they'll bring it into the present. So literally the eyes will go top left, top right, center. So what they've done is they've gone to fetch something in the memory. Now, one of the groups of people that this is really extremely obvious usually are politicians. I'm dead serious. That's unfortunately it's true. Politicians don't blatantly lie because then they're going to be caught out. So they need to go fetch fact, truth, reconstruct it, and then deliver it. Does that make sense? Now, Charlie, you know some of your girlfriends in the past, when you ask them, do you like me? And they went, yeah, they did exactly the same thing. All right, so what's the secret behind this? The concept, you guys, absolutely please remember, it's not black and white. You can only actually use it as reliable information if you calibrate it as well. So ideally what you want to do is ask a couple of questions. Ask them questions that you probably know they're going to lie. Like ask them, have you ever lied? If they say yes, you know they lie. If they say no, you know they're telling the truth. It's a very simple test. Are you male? Now, if they're sitting in front of you, you can see it's a male, then obviously you're going to know what the answer is. Ask immediately the next question. Are you female? If they're male, you're going to know they're lying. Then ask them things about the house. What color is your pillow? What color is your front door? In your bathroom, what's the color of your tub? Do you ever wash? Very basic, simplistic questions, but watch them very carefully and see where the eyes go. Right. So left top is?
Memory, visual.
Visual. Top is visual. Left top is visual remembered. right top, visual, constructed, not necessarily a lie. Now, I've actually watched myself. Now, this is one of the reasons why I said I really want to actually teach this a little bit, because I did it on my neighbor today and then I played around with it. And I actually went in on one of my videos that I recorded over the weekend, where I was talking about a very, very tense or very high emotional part of my history that I told the group. And it was like, for me, it was extremely emotional to talk. I almost cried literally while I was telling it. And while I was talking, I watched my own ISS and cues. And I could literally see how I went to go fetch memory. And for me not to burst out in tears and go completely emotional in the room, I had to reconstruct the story a little bit. And I could literally see how I went and I started constructing. But I went constructing visual and I went constructing auditory. And I could see my eyes go into the different directions. How I just to reshape everything to be able to deliver it. But the clue is, where did I fetch it? So if the eyes went construct immediately, strong probability it's a lie. If the eyes go remembered and then construct, and it hovers in construct, that's cool. That just means the person is reconstructing what they want to say. To bring it over, we've become very politically correct, we've become polite, so we often construct something before we say. Does it make sense, guys? Are you getting that? Are you gonna? Who's gonna test it? It's so much fun to test, especially on people that are close to you. You can pick it up sometimes very, very quickly. All right. So what's top right is, top left is visual, remembered. Correct? What's horizontal? What do you think is, if the eyes just go completely just horizontally left, what would be there? It's also remembered, but which of the VACOG senses? Easy one to remember because it's the same level as the ear. So if the eyes go sideways, remembering. If the eyes go to the right, constructing. So auditory, remembered, auditory, construct. Now the bottom two is the difficult one. Bottom two is the difficult one. The moment the eyes go bottom left, it's still going to the auditory, but it's a different type of auditory. There's two types of auditories we have in our minds. The one type of auditory is an auditory memory. In other words, you're hearing your mother's voice nagging in the background, go clean your room. Or your wife's voice, go clean the garage. Or your husband's voice, come here. Whatever it is, there's a voice, and you can hear that voice in the back of your head. That is left bottom. That's when auditory is remembered. But here's the key. The auditory bottom left, is not fully just remembering. It is when I take that memory and I add an internal conversation with it. So it becomes auditory, digital, internal. Auditory, digital, internal. Why do we add digital? Because that's the creative part inside of the brain that now creates my own conversation. Now, someone that's full auditory, digital, internal does not take any or gather any information from the outside. So I want you guys to grasp the power of auditory, digital, internal. It is when I hear voices, when I take them and I have conversations inside my own head about them. And that conversation becomes more overpowering than the memory or the ability of me to construct a lie around it. So I'm also almost like a cause effect where something has happened. Because of that, I'm now having this layered, folding, rolling over, continuous internal dialogue on the inside of my head. And this becomes the construct of my reality and my map of reality. Does that make sense? Very often, guys, if you talk to most clients, what you are going to find is that's usually the area where they struggle the most. It is when that conversation has become such a strong reality in their minds. But the question is, how do you know it's coming from there? When you start to meta model it, if you constantly see the eyes going left bottom, you know they're going very auditory digital. You know they're listening to that negative voice in their heads. If the eye only goes left bottom, never goes left up, never goes left horizontal, you realize that they're not tapping into an actual memory, but they're tapping into a regurgitated memory that they have now reconstructed themselves to a large extent. Does that make sense? Yes. And this is where ISS and cues becomes really, really interesting. The second one you want to be very, very aware of. So what's the first one? Is when they go left bottom. The second one is when they go right bottom. The difference between the two, when the left bottom and right bottom. Left bottom is auditory, the sound part. But right bottom is kinesthetic. It's the intense feeling of the emotion. Now, if you look at someone that's been beaten, someone that's regularly been bullied, someone that's in a very strong abusive relationship, one of the things you'll see they do is they do that. They literally, the body, not just the eyes, the body, the head, the neck, everything pulls to the right bottom. That is strong sign. Kinesthetic, internal. It's an extremely strong, think about this, rehearsing the feeling. Feeling it over and over. It's Groundhog Day for them. Something happened in their past. It's not just in the memory. They're feeling it as if it's replaying over and over. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Now, here's the reason I absolutely love it. If you talk to someone and they say, I've got a problem in my relationship, that's the only sentence you get. And whilst they say it, they go left up. What is a very simple concept, deduction, assumption you can make from it? I'm having a problem in my relationship.
Looking for the facts.
Visual
Memory.
Facts.
What is top left?
Vision memory.
Visual remembered.
Remembering, yeah.
I've got a problem in my relationships. I can almost tell you 99% of the time, the person has seen themselves in a fight, seen the face of their partner, seen the relationship, seen the argument, seen it happening. It's like a visual memory that they've now, I see him or I see her in the mind. If they go, I've got problems in my relationship. The other side.
construct, visual construct.
Construct.
Lying.
They're lying. What is a big problem? What is a great, huge possible probability there?
They're the abuser.
Let's see.
They are the abuser or a cheater or something. They're standing, the one standing behind the door and trying to blame the other one. A very, very simplistic way. So I want you guys just to grasp this, the reason why I was excited to teach you guys. Will this knowledge impact the way you're going to meta model someone now?
Without a doubt.
So sorry, James, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, without a doubt. It gives you strong signals of the information they're giving you.
Charlie's petrified. I'm going to see his eyes. He's sitting like this right now.
A lot of times they don't tell you the truth. They don't want to face the truth, so they don't tell you the truth. This gives you a good indication of the truth.
Yeah. Is it something you could absolutely rely on? Not always. Calibrate the person. Because here's another area where you could have a little wee bit of a problem. There are some people that are ambidextrous. Now, we talk about left brain, right brain, but there are people that do function and jump between the two parts of the brain. They are few and far between. It's about 5% of the world population, but they do exist. So you need to, before you make an absolute conclusion about it, just calibrate it. Ask a couple of really basic, simplistic questions, because you could make a judgment call and then you're missing it. Does that make sense? Hello? Yeah. All right. Now, if someone is going completely there, what is this side? This is my right-hand side. This is my left side, left bottom. What is that telling you?
It's auditory.
Auditory digital construct. Digital.
Auditory digital internal.
Yes.
Yeah. So that conversations. So what's the risk of it? Now, I want you guys just to understand something. If it's a quick one and it's back, then it's not a major problem. That just means this is someone that's very auditory digital internal, so they have internal conversations. The big risk signs when the lights go on, when it's like red lights flashing for you as a coach, is when they hang there. It's when the eyes go there and they hover and they stay there for a while. And you'll see all the other signals. You should hear their voice tone, the pitch, the pace at which they speak, everything will change. Because now they're going strongly into that internal conversation in that dialogue. Now, one of the people where you see this very often is teenagers that are on chemicals, drugs. This is one of the signs that are used by a lot of clinics to try and see what the state is. Because let me just explain why they use it, very specific on teenagers. Most of the time, most people that get into drugs get into it because it's a social thing, there's a vibe, there's a, I want to be part of the gang. But logically, they know this is not a good idea. Come on. If they're in their early phases of it, they still have the guilt voice from mommy and daddy and the preacher and the teachers and everybody else talking to them about it. And they're having these internal justification conversations, but they're not winning these justification conversations. They're turning into feel bad and guilt conversations right in the beginning. So where do they go? Now they go to that auditory internal digital conversation. Phase 2, when they get to a level, very often, where they now don't have the guilt feeling in the conversation anymore. 6 months later, very often what you'll find is they literally go to the bottom, the other side, because now the pain of what? Either the experience that led them into it or the pain of withdrawal symptoms doesn't do that. They go kinesthetic, the feeling, everything down inside. Does it make sense? Now, interesting, one of the guys, I was actually quite hoping, Charlie, that you were going to be on here. When you take guys through your, let's just call them your natural remedies, using the gifts that Mother Nature has offered us as in plants. One of the things you can watch for is in those states, you can watch for similar signals. You'll see where the people, where they're going and what those experiences are all about. Who's done hypno? Now, when you do hypnosis on someone, is the eyes usually closed, right? Does the same thing happen when someone's eyes are closed? Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh.
Spot on. It does. Because it's not an open eye function. This is actually an internal brain function. So even if you're doing hypnosis, and their eyes are closed and you ask questions, you take them on a journey, you can actually see where the eyes are going. And that can be used as a guide to determine what state your client is in. Because if they're going down there, the eyes, then you know, I need to fix this. I need to get a heightened state. I need to bring them out of that. And you'll know this is a kinesthetic experience. On this side, this is an auditory experience. So you can use specifically related words to guide them out of that state into a different state. Because if they're in a kinesthetic experience, I need to use kinesthetic words. If they're in an auditory experience, I need to use auditory words. If they're in a visual experience, I need to use visual words. In other words, I need to say to them, can you see? There's an alternative option. I wonder how soon you're going to start to see the difference that you're experiencing. I can use auditory sounds or auditory type words. I'm wondering how soon you're going to hear the clarity of this new message that's coming to you. Can you hear what's happening? If it's strong kinesthetic, I can notice, as you notice, when you start to feel the difference inside of you. And I'm wondering if you're feeling that already now. So I will use the representational language based on the signal and the state my client is in to guide them out. Because what am I doing? I am pacing their experience. I'm using the power of their representational system to take them to somewhere else. Isn't that cool?
Yes.
Now the challenge is, how do you get to that level where you can do it without having to think about it? Charlie?
Practice, practice, practice.
Practice, practice, practice. The key is practice, practice, spot on. Choose one. Just choose one. Choose visual, remembered. And just look for it. Just visual. Oh, you just remember. And ask when you see it in any conversation, what did you just see? And let them tell you the picture, what they just saw. Okay. And then take the next one. What did you just hear? What was that voice hear? What did that voice just tell you? The moment they go there, what did that voice just tell you? Ask. And start learning how accurate you are and how often it actually happens in conversations. You'll be mesmerized. It's crazy. Yes, Charlie, you raised your hand?
Okay, can you hear me now? Sorry. Okay, Dion, I have a, when you've calibrated someone, and you have a good idea of kind of where their audio, their visual memory is and they're constructed, you know, kind of their IQs. Yeah. And if they are in problem state, that takes them to the visual memory, for instance.
If they are, sorry, just repeat that. Speak a little bit slower. Your sound's not great, so speak slower.
Okay. So if they are in a state, in a stuck state, and they keep looking to visual memory, for instance, would you use, if you've calibrated them, to use their IQs to pull them into a different state by talking about, for instance, a auditory something where you've seen?
Going from, brilliant concept, but going from a visual to an auditory is too quick. Pace and lead. So I would much rather go, but you know, Charlie, sometimes we remember amazingly beautiful things. And even some of the memories that we sometimes don't really like, we can sort of paint a new picture to ourselves. And the moment we paint new pictures, we'll notice how soon we can just hear the beautiful ring of truth and glorious things coming. And you've heard these many times before, haven't you? So what I'm literally doing is I'm pre-doing it, linking it to my language patterns, pacing the experience, going there, visual remembered, visual construct, auditory construct, auditory remembered.
Yes. Okay, so you basically use a strategy to like affirm where they are, you meet them where they are, and then you pace them, or you lead them.
So if they, but remember now there's a couple of different ones. If they're auditory, either remember or construct. You just go to the opposite. And then you
Okay,
in visual. So they're in
Yes.
visual, so they're visual remembered. Very easy. Just take them from visual remembered to visual construct. If they're in visual
Okay.
construct, go visual remembered.
Okay.
Then down one, short line, and then across. So let's just take it simplistic. So if they're in visual remembered, something, a bad memory that they've got, take them to
Yeah.
visual construct. Sometimes
Yeah.
we can look at something that's amazing, and when the shadow falls on it, we just notice that it's slightly different, not the same it was. And the moment
Yes.
we realize that we can see things differently, we hear a completely different voice inside of our heads. Now I've gone auditory construct. I'm hearing a different voice in my head. And the moment as that happens, as that new voice comes, I can start remembering amazing things that I know is true that I've heard before. Now I've gone to auditory remember. Now I've gone complete cycle in a state. But here's my problem. And I must always remember this: auditory internal, digital, auditory kinesthetic. The visual ones in the auditory is easy. It's which one is kinesthetic and which one's auditory digital sometimes that I must be honest, I still get confused because I don't use them that often. So what if someone goes kinesthetic internal? They're in that state. How do you lead them out? How do you pace them and how do you lead them out? Ask yourself always one simple question. Which point between this one, I've got to get my camera right, between this point, this one, this one, this one, and this one is the shortest route. But imagine there's a void here, there's nothing here. So the shortest point between this one, where's the shortest or the closest point? It's that one. And the next one, that one. And the next one, that one. And the next one, that one. And then there. So even if you want to take someone from a kinesthetic internal to auditory digital, you got to do that with the brain.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
It's the shortest route. It's the easiest for the brain.
Shortest route. Okay. Wow, powerful. I love this.
I just like it when the one stage of my life when I did use it a lot was when the boys came to visit my daughters. And seriously, then you just ask them a simple question. And what is your intention with my daughter? And if you see that brain is going visual construct, hey, Booty, get out of here. You know, trouble. If they go visual remembered, no, well, it's done. Can't do anything about it now. So
Over. Happened already.
make sense?
Very, very, very interesting.
All right.
Wow.
So one of the best people you can practice it on is the person closest to you. Why the person closest to you? Why do you want to practice it on someone you love? Why do you want to, Charlie? Why do you want to practice it on Kat? James, why do you want to practice on your wife? Tomorrow, why do you want to practice in the morning? Why?
Because you would know whether they're telling the truth because you know them very well. So
You know a lot of the facts behind it.
Yeah.
Also, here's a second reason. For someone that's close to you, if you guys have got a strong relationship, it's actually very difficult for them to lie. So the constructive part of it is clearer. If you meet a complete stranger, I mean, you know, come on. If you go to your partner and your partner says to you, does my ass look big in these jeans? Then, yes. It's easy answer.
I dare you to say that. I dare you to say that, Dion. Come on.
What do you mean? I do it every morning. My wife will ask me what it looked like. I said, no,
That's why you got two black eyes.
Doesn't do it. Doesn't do it. She doesn't ask me, does my ass look big? She asked me, does this look right? And I go, no, something's amiss there. It's the jeans. I don't know. It doesn't. And I'll let you do that.
I normally ask whether he thinks the washing machine has shrunk my jeans again.
I actually asked the same to my wife about my sweaters lately. I put on a sweater this morning, and the weird thing is, it shrunk it so bad my navel was exposed. It wasn't my fault. It was the bloody washing machine. But nothing to do with lockdown and great meals, right? It's very difficult for someone that's very close to you, that loves you a lot, to actually lie in your face. So when they lie, they're going to go very strong to the construct. The brain is absolutely going to linger in the construct for a while. Now, anybody like playing poker? Just by the way, one of the keys to great poker players is understanding ISS and cues. Because the moment that guy puts his bet on the table, is he going to remember it or is he going to construct? If he's going to remember it and he raises the bet, he's got a great hand. Yeah, Joachim, I see your internet is unstable. You're freezing the whole time and you're in and out, but you'll get the recording. Does that make sense, guys? Where else do you think you can use it? Well, let me ask this question. What age group of people do you think it's extreme?
Kids.
Teenagers.
Kids, teenagers. That's more extreme in young ones. And then when people get older, so from about 65 up, you'll see the same thing come through again. It's here in the middle group. Now, one of the difficult areas to read it is these very professional corporate executives. Why are they difficult to read?
Because they fucking lie all the time.
Here's the thing.
I'm going to say they don't know the difference anymore themselves.
You are absolutely spot on. But it's not just the fact that they lie all of the time. The problem is if you tell yourself the same lie over and over, you actually start believing it. And therein lies the problem. That's why I say you've got to calibrate it. You've got to make sure this thing is calibrated and it works actually. You cannot rely on it all of the time 100%. But there are times when it's so clear, when it's so absolute, you sit there, you go, like, really?
Dion, is there a difference between male and female?
Yeah, females lie better than us.
Yeah, okay. I thought you were going to say it the other way around, but is there a difference or not?
No, not really, no. It's more what have you been exposed to, what's your background, you know, what type of home did you grow up in? If you grew up in a home where the truth was the basic standard, then telling a lie is actually quite difficult. Remember, telling a lie is a learned behavior. There are people that get really, really good at it. They get extreme, and they get so entangled. I mean, we had a conversation the other day. We had some people here for a braai, and the guy was telling me about someone they visited, and this guy was telling them how he used to smuggle drugs for the CIA. I mean, it's an African guy living locally, and how he was an infiltrator, and how he did this, and some movie or book or whatever was written on his mother's life story, and you sit there, you go, just just too much. But they're so involved in that lie that they actually start believing it. That's the reality. But for them to be able, and there is keys, they have to connect these things. At some stage, the brain goes, okay, wait, how am I going to swing this one again now? Okay, I need to go, let me just, okay, and they will hang up there for a while. They've really got no choice. Tasha, you got a hand up?
Yeah, I just want to ask, would that also apply in terms of somebody who's narcissistic? Would they still need to... Narcissistic.
Narcissistic.
Yes.
Just remember one thing about a narcissist. A narcissist, there's a difference between telling a lie and just not having a sense of emotional attachment to someone else. So what we very often call a narcissist, if you can look at your meta programs, your 9-day course, is a me person. My rules for me, my rules for you. It's some of these guys just have no concept about someone else's emotional state. I worked for a guy a couple of years ago, and he was making millions. He had staff that was working for him that just couldn't, they were losing their house, couldn't pay for the car, they had kids. It's not that these guys weren't working hard, he was just paying them pathetic salaries. Pathetic salaries. Then this guy got into trouble, not of something of his own, but he needed money urgently. I can't remember the reason. But it was an absolute justification. It wasn't a huge amount, it was like $1,200 in our money. And it was just, no. And it wasn't that he's a narcissist, he just couldn't comprehend the flip side of empath, couldn't comprehend the emotional experience the other guy's going through. And you find them, and they're there, and they'll always be there. So very often what we do, we call people like that a narcissist. They're not a narcissist, they just don't give a shit. And they actually just don't. They don't know how to have that connection. So we look at them as a narcissist. A narcissist in its true form is very much aware of the fact that he's playing a game or she's playing a game. A true narcissist, they know they are manipulating. They're aware of it. So for them to manipulate, they need to go to construct. So you can pick them up sometimes. Okay. So if you know, for the men, yeah, you know, there's an old joke that says, why are there more female archaeologists in this world than what there are men? Because women love digging up the past. So there is a concept, and most guys will realize this. And here's the truth. And someone asked me earlier, is this different for men and women? But there are parts in the brain that function different for men than what it does for women. It's one of those things. A man's brain is more segmented. A female's brain is more fully wired. In other words, it's like everything is connected a little bit more. So if she's having a bad day at home, if the child pisses off, the husband will know, but so will the colleagues at work. The emotion is linked into everything in their lives, most of the time. And I'm not trying to generalize here, so not all of them, and it's not a right or a wrong. It is what it is. In some cases, it's a phenomenal benefit. In other cases, nah, it's a bit of a drag. We're meant to be more compartmentalized. So if you're having a bad day at home, you can get to work and smile and it's fine. It's like, whatever. There are some differences there. So when you ask these questions, you're looking for these cues, cross over all of them. Because that's how you're going to form a bigger picture. It could be someone, there are some women that have got absolute compartmentalized thought patterns and emotions. They're all in separate boxes. There are some men, I've met quite a few of them, where the whole world is just in one big chaos. Okay. So you find both in males and females. Predominantly, women are more merged and men are more segmented. So what you could find, here's a smoky. If you're coaching a female, there's a probability that she might be hiding certain feelings when she's talking about a different topic. That's why I say calibrate. Ask cross-reference questions. Don't ask one meter question and think you're calibrating. You need to ask 5 or 6 different types of concepts so you can properly calibrate if you want to use this. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Karen?
Yeah, I'm good. Can I go back a step and ask a question on the last step before you move on? On the representational systems, with the internal representational systems, is it's something that I've found quite difficult from the beginning, and I'm not sure that I can even identify my own
Okay.
representation.
I want you
So
just
are there
for a moment,
specific
think about
questions?
what's your most fondest memory you've got?
A party I went to, or my party actually.
Your party. When was your party?
It was 2 years ago, my 40th.
Okay. When you think about the party, what is the one memory that inside that whole memory of the party? Because that's like a big memory. I think a party, because
Yeah,
there's lots of people, there's lots of things happening. What is the one
I
single
visualize
thing?
it like I visualize the whole thing into one picture.
Okay. Do you see a picture? All right. Now,
Yeah.
I didn't say what does that memory look like. You said I see this whole. So, what's your strong representation system? It's most probably visual.
Visual,
Now,
yeah.
let me ask you more questions around it. Can you hear music? Can you hear the people? Can you hear laughter when you think of that memory? If you
Yeah.
think about the image you're seeing, the picture you're seeing, and you're hearing the sounds of the party, which one comes across the strongest, the picture or the sounds?
The picture initially, but then once you ask me about the sounds,
Now you're hearing the sounds?
yeah,
Alright.
but initially I would see the picture.
Whilst you're seeing the picture and you're hearing the sounds, can you also feel what it felt like when you were there? What was your emotion?
Love
Where in your body did you feel that love?
in my heart.
What was that feeling? Can you explain it to me?
Like huge gratitude, feeling so loved.
What a gratitude. I don't explain. Just unpack that for me. Let me understand it better.
I don't know, it's an emotion, a feeling.
How did you know that evening that you were experiencing it? How do you know now that you experienced it? What happened? What triggered it?
People arriving from different countries and like making such an effort to be there for my day. It just made me feel so content to have. such
So
good
I want you
friends
just to
and
go back in your memory, the first people, let's pick 3 or 4 people arriving that were just, this was so special. What is your memory of remembering and reminding you as you're wondering about it now? What's coming to mind?
pictures, seeing them walk up to me.
There you go. Can you see again your first, very clearly, your first go-to representational system is visual. So I can now really make a couple of assumptions. So for example, when you used to study, some of the subjects you probably did the best in are obviously ones that you enjoyed, but I can probably take an accurate guesstimation and say you probably used highlighters, you used to mark things, and you had to categorize them visually. Because that would have been your first go-to. Your second way that you learned was through, you probably then, secondary, read it out loud. You needed to hear yourself say it. You needed to repeat it so you could hear it, and then it goes into a deeper memory bank. So your first go-to would have been visual, and your second representational system would have been auditory. So you visual auditory.
Okay, cool.
Does
Thanks.
that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Now, what's interesting, if you have a similar conversation with your loved ones, you can actually find out what they are. And you guys do realize that you speak a different language to what they speak, then there's problems, especially if the emotions are heightened, like when we call arguments. Would you guys like a test to find out what you are? I just realized somewhere I've actually got a test that you can actually complete and then do a whole score and determine what you are. I'm gonna find it tomorrow, and I'll put it onto the WhatsApp group. And you guys can actually then test, print it out. You can let yourself test. You'll know, are you visual, auditory, kinesthetic? You're very strong auditory digital. What are you? And you can also let your partner do the test, because that might just improve, in some cases, your relationship. I mean, Karen, you realize your whole family has been phoning me and said, can you help this woman, please?
Say that again, your whole family's what?
No, nothing. Don't worry. It's just fine. No, just nothing. No, your family never ever phoned me. No one phoned me from your family. Let's see if you can spot this one, Karen. No one in your family has ever phoned me complaining about what's happening in your world.
What's that?
What was that?
Big lie.
Lie.
There you go.
Hiding the truth.
Don't worry, Karen. Your husband phoned me
That's a good way to put it.
Now I'm really worried.
Hold on. Guys, come on, spot it. I want you guys to spot this. Spot this quickly. Watch me. Tell me if I'm lying or telling the truth. Karen, your husband phoned me yesterday.
Truth.
Truth.
All right. You see, what you guys did is you didn't link my eyes and my words. I said your husband phoned me yesterday. If I could remember the conversation, I would not have gone, he phoned me yesterday. I went to visual. So all I could really see was the words, what I needed to do. If I could remember what he said and I could remember his voice, guess what I would have done? With absolute certainty. Yeah, we had a conversation. You see the difference?
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
But that's a good question, Dion, because what you said before that was your family has never phoned me and you look to construct.
I had to very, very deliberately, I must be honest, I think I overdid it a little bit because it was, your family has never phoned me. Yeah, it was a bit of a, it's tough to fake. Even, you know what, even if you're trying to fake a truth, you know, I am male. So where the fuck must I look now? Okay, yeah. The logic and the language and the stuff sort of doesn't really want to synchronize together all of it. So it's not that easy to sort of, yeah. I've never heard a complaint about you.
Okay,
What
so
was
now
that?
you're constructing, but it's a negative. So you're lying,
But
but
still,
you
I've never heard a
complaint
complaint about you. I'm constructing that statement. If I went, I've never heard a complaint about you. What would have happened? That complaint would have run around in my head.
to the audio.
Yeah. What if I go, you don't really make me scared?
You're shitting yourself.
You don't really make me scared. You don't really scare me.
Kinesthetic.
Sorry? Kinesthetic, what?
Kinesthetic.
What are you saying? I'm pathetic. I'm not hearing clearly here, guys. What are the
Kinesthetic feeling is
kinesthetic internal?
feeling,
All right.
internal, yes.
Did your father hit you? Did your father beat you last night? No, he didn't. What's happening?
He did.
Most probably did. I'm feeling the pain while I'm here. Okay. Did your father beat you last night? Yes, he did.
He's lying.
Construct. Had to construct.
Yes.
Huh? You see the difference?
Yeah.
Charlie,
Yes.
is Cat gaining weight fast?
No.
Look at his eyes.
Respond.
Look straight.
No, she actually isn't. Yeah, no.
Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, sorry.
I've had lots of training.
She actually isn't, dear. She isn't. All right, has this been dropped? You guys going to play with this one?
Oh, this is great.
Let's just, test it on your, as I said, the first people you want to test it on is your loved ones, people close to you, your husbands, your wives, your partners, your kids. If you got teenagers in the house, especially if they're sort of younger than 15, oh man, enjoy this. Really, please enjoy this. Love it. But remember the cardinal rule, please. Regimen the guys. Literally, the CIA apparently used to use this in the interrogation when they trained people in interrogation. This apparently is part of the truth. But they stopped eventually. Okay? They stopped eventually. I used to teach this as well, like it was gospel. Man, I remember when beginning earlier, this was gospel. You look to the left, you look to the right. Oh, boom. It's not gospel. It's not absolute. You need to calibrate it. You need to be aware of the person's possible internal representation systems.
Yeah.
Okay. Please. So take it, use it, but don't abuse it. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay.
Cool.
If you want to experiment, just a matter of interest, I told you guys about Angie that used to work for me. Angie was extremely creative. I mean, she could just draw the most amazing things. And if you spoke to her about art, it was like something weird happened because the eyes were doing this the whole time. It's going construct, remembered, construct, remembered, construct, remembered. But if you spoke about sound, same thing didn't happen. But art, because she's an artist. Now, just think about the mind of an artist. How do they draw something? How do they create something? They need both. They need memory and they need the creative part. They need to merge. So they can't function in one whole at the same time. So they need to constantly go between. So do you understand what I'm saying? Meet the model, find out who the person is. There are cases where this is not the absolute rule. Okay, cool. So how do you fool someone that knows how to use eye assessing cues? How do you get around it?
Yo, Dion, like you said, like you can.
Easy.
Oh, okay. Good.
You just got it. You went a little bit slower. You got it. All right. All right, amazing souls. That's it for tonight. I think it's a lekker one. Go and enjoy it. Go play with it. So next time you see someone that's wearing sunglasses all of the time, one of three things are true. Either they've got a blue eye, or they're lying and they want to hide it, or maybe they've just got a bad bubble eye so you can see it in the eyes. One of those three usually. So have a blessed day tomorrow. Be awesome. And when are we seeing each other again? On Thursday. Thursday evening. I'll see you guys Thursday evening. Be good.
By the way,
did any of you guys register for the online course that's supposed to start tomorrow? Okay. Because of Chandra's computer that's crashed, we got no idea who's registered for it. That computer, we got zero idea.
Electronics might be affected poorly in the next couple of weeks because it's Mercury retrograde.
Tell me. Also, the computer crashed.
Yeah.
We've got it in with a data recovery guide now, so hopefully we can recuperate some of it. So, or running software. I don't know what she's doing. She's trying to fix it. But yeah, it's a bit of an embarrassment. Now I'm going to get lots of WhatsApps tomorrow. When time is the course starting? Don't know. All right, have a lekker day. Be blessed. Go love someone. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.